Hello. So I have a puzzling moment that I need to present, and this one is kind of an interesting one. The backstory is that we have a child who's 4 years old in state's custody after his parents were arrested for drug charges, and um, and then when they were sentenced to 3 to 5 years each, then the Department of Family Services took custody of their son and also her older brother and sister, who are 15, I think, now, and the other one just turned 18 and aged out. But we found out that she didn't actually have custody of those kids after her mom passed away. They had just kind of been tossed back and forth with a handwritten, notarized statement on who got to have them next, basically. And that's happened for, boy, 7, 8 years. So the situation is that we have the mom in custody at the prison for 3 to 5 years, and the dad also. And the history on these two is mom has had 4 previous children removed from care, um, and one that passed away. And um, and so she's got a history also of, you know, also with drugs also, and alcohol. And dad has 4 other children that he has not supported, taken care of, was seeing occasionally, but never paid any child support or that kind of thing. So um, when they went into the first placement hearing, after, of course, the goal had to be reunification, but the judge at that point, based on previous history and the expected amount of time in custody, did a co-goal of adoption right away, so that we didn't waste any time. And in Wyoming, they have the 15 out of 22 rule, which means if the child's in custody for 15 out of the 22 months, last previous months, then you need to move your goal to adoption regardless. And so the mom in this case is in the women's prison, and she is starting to kind of panic. She thinks that they're going to take her child away, which is a reasonable fear, because she's had it happen to her before, and also because she knows she's going to be in jail for, potentially up to 5 years. This is the first time she's complied with the regulations of the Department of Family Services as far as, doing her parenting goals and her substance abuse and her therapy and all the things that the caseworker is required and the court has required that she do. And this is actually the first time she's complied with this stuff. It looks like from past history she has not even really attempted with the other children to even try. I think she kind of gets that she's getting older and can't just probably have another baby just off the bat, Dad also, this is the first time he's been to prison several times. This time he seems to be doing fairly well and is now at the Arna farm, and complying with everything. So the situation is that the attorney for her is, of course, wants to help her client get what her goal is, and that is to be able to raise her child eventually. So what the attorney has chosen to do is to call her mother, not stepmother, I'm sorry. The couple's not married, so it's his mother, and they're calling her like nightly, to beg her to try to come and pick him up and adopt him, so that when they get out, they can just come back and get him. However, that's not how this works. And the grandma came in the other day and she was in tears because she's so afraid that if she doesn't do something that she's going to lose him. However, she's not even in a position to really do that because she's taking care of, she's 65, she's taking care of her 83-year-old mother and her husband who's on disability. They live in a trailer that probably is not going to qualify for home study. And so, in all reality, she's probably not going to be able to adopt that child anyways. And we explained to her that, even if in order to go through adoption, the parental rights have to be terminated or relinquished. And if you terminate or relinquish, you don't just get your parental rights back when you get out of jail. I mean, it's a done deal at that point, and then she would be responsible for that 4-year-old child for the rest of his life. And if she was to allow them to take him back when they got out of prison, and something happened to him, then she could be prosecuted for that because it's illegal. And that kind of shook her up a little bit and stuff. But I guess what I'm wondering is what is our responsibility as a caseworker for these two? I mean, is it in our right or even our responsibility to call them and explain the situation and the fact that, if you can't get adopted unless you relinquish or terminate your rights, and if you do that, you can't get him back. The best thing to do is continue to comply with the rules and regulations and to continue to behave in prison and hope to get out. However, 3 years is still 36 months, and 22 months, there's a really good chance he's gonna, in the last 22 months, he's gonna be in care. And to try to, explain to her and talk to her, every time we do talk to her, she's kind of irate. And when we're about, don't take my baby, and, in our MDT meetings and things like that, she's scared, and and rightfully so. But I'm just wondering, what do you think is the right approach to this? Do we call and explain them the court situation more when she has an attorney? Would that be stepping on that person's toes? Do we call her attorney and say, hey, I understand that you're trying to preserve this family for your client. However, this mother is not necessarily, or this grandmother is not necessarily an adequate home for this little boy who has trauma issues now, and is very busy, very, very busy 4-year-old, and even the foster home is having some difficulties with, with me getting him to, behave and mind so that he can eventually be able to go into kindergarten. And she runs a daycare, and so it's not like this isn't an extremely unexperienced parent that's foster parenting, but I mean, it is their first foster child, so it has its challenges from that. But is that in our right? Should we approach that? Should we just leave it alone? I know we're concerned about this grandma because they're kind of really pressuring her and pushing her. I mean, do we kind of side with the grandma who says she doesn't think she can do it, and just let them know she's not going to qualify or something, so that they leave her alone and quit stressing her out for the next 3 years while they're in jail. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what your suggestions would be to try to kind of de-stress the situation, because it's a process and it's going to go forward the way it has to go forward legally, regardless of their attempts to try to coerce her into adopting him. And I guess I'm just not sure what the boundaries there would be. So if you could give me some advice, that'd be great. Thanks.